you guys. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is Lisa Nicole Alexander. I am here today with Sheri Kurkdakul. Did I say that right, Sheri? Help me out.
Kurkdakul.
Y'all, I was this close. And I practiced, you guys. You would not believe I did. I practiced. And for some reason, I still didn't get it. But anyway, Sheri, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm really excited. I met Sheri probably like almost 9 months to a year ago. Through her organization, Victims Voice. She is the CEO and founder of Victims Voice. And so I am super excited for you to literally educate us on what Victims Voice is and literally educate the world. So let's do that tonight. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, well, let's do that.
Let's start with a persona. Most victims of domestic violence will not report what happened to them. Those that do oftentimes are not heard or not believed. And of those that are, they do want to pursue, such as a criminal case, don't have enough evidence to actually bring a case to the prosecutor's office. And those that do have evidence, if they make it into the courtroom, oftentimes the defense attorney does such a great job of discrediting their statements and their evidence that the prosecution rates are actually less than 2%.
Of domestic violence cases?
Yeah.
Wow. So less than 2% of domestic violence cases are prosecuted. Is it due to lack of evidence?
Primarily, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And so this was a problem that I had close personal experiences with and also knew that I could solve.
Okay.
And so Victims Voice is the only legally admissible documentation tool that allows victims to document and store and collect their evidence. We store it in a manner that is that meets all those regulations and criteria for being allowed as evidence in court. And that's it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to go back a little bit because I'm a very visual. I'm a person that kind of needs to hear it again. So It is the only legally accessible. Can you repeat that part for us?
It's the only legally admissible documentation tool that meets it's called the Daubert standard of court admissibility.
Okay.
And it's a 5-step criteria that you have to meet in order for expert testimony to be admitted as evidence in court.
Okay. So let me go back a little bit because you said, I see a problem. Less than 2% of domestic violence cases are actually being prosecuted. There is a lack of evidence, et cetera. I can solve this problem. So before we go into that a little bit, I want to hear your why, Sheri. Why did you decide to even start Victims Voice? Why was this important to you?
So I am a survivor, actually I'm a thriver of child abuse and domestic violence. So mine started, I actually was abused by my father. That's where it started. When I was a toddler, I actually lost my virginity to him. And then when I was a junior in high school, he was finally arrested and he was prosecuted and convicted, but he did 6 weekends in jail for my brother, my 2 sisters, and myself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so when that's the environment that you grow up in, that becomes, you normalize that. And so that led to a train wreck of relationships for me. And for almost 30 years, I just never had a healthy relationship. Abusive boyfriends and, just disaster relationships. I finally pulled myself together. I have a couple of stories of how I did that in Medium, in my Medium account. I say that every survivor, everyone that goes through that kind of trauma has some sort of addiction. For a lot of people, it's drugs or alcohol or, a myriad sex, whatever. For me, it was work. And I'm a workaholic. I love what I do. I've always tried to work in a space that satisfies my voracious need to work. And I worked in the music business for a while. I worked in tech for a long time. Fast forward to 2016, and my daughter, who was 10, built an anti-bullying mobile app for her science fair project.
Okay. So I see where it started. Okay. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And I was a consultant at the time. I had my own consultant business. And it was in that moment when we were invited to speak at a developers conference that people were asking, well, what if you did this? And what if you did that? And I'm standing on stage and I just felt like two freight trains and my worlds just collided. Mm-hmm. And I realized that with the right technology, you can solve social issues if it's right. And so after that, my daughter's an introvert. She was like, I don't care what you do, you just can't use my name. So I built a prototype of what started off to be just a diary, a way that you could write your own stories. Kind of. And went out for the next 2 years trying to disprove what I had built. Somebody's already done it. What I'm doing is wrong. I'm missing the mark. I went out to lunch with a friend of mine who's an attorney, and she introduced me to the legal standards. And that's when
that's a game changer. Yeah.
Game changer. And so that was probably late 2017.
So what made you decide to have the app focus on domestic violence?
That's where my experience lies. And also there's a lot of tools out there for sexual assault.
Okay.
But not really anything for domestic violence. Okay. And domestic violence is really underserved. It's long-term, sexual assault in many cases, when you're not talking about sexual violence, but sexual assault, usually it's, there's an attack. And then after that, there's the process. But with domestic violence, it's grooming, it's emotional, it's physical, it's financial, it's sexual, it's all these things packaged into chipping away at the individual until there's nothing left. And people that it's really, really difficult to help them get that evidence.
Right.
These are people they know and trust, so to speak, So it was really important for me to address that specific type of sector, if you will.
Well, with especially 2% of cases going to trial, I mean, obviously there's a big issue. We understand 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men. The numbers are huge, but the incidences of actually, vindication or justice for the survivor is extremely, extremely slim. I mean,
there was a study done in February of 2018 after Me Too had broken and really big. And there was a study that was done to really dig in to, are the numbers really this big? And what they found was when they went out and actually talked to people, and they were talking about sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and so everything around sexual harassment or abuse. 81% of women, 43% of men in their lifetime.
Wow.
So if you're talking about in 2018, there were 386 million people in the US. You're talking about 205 million people
have experienced it. Wow. Wow.
That's huge. Yeah.
So I know that we talked a little bit before about that. There are other apps out that address, domestic violence. I was actually on a webinar today and they talked about one. So what makes Victim's Voice different?
So, like I said, it's the only legally admissible one. There are apps out there that will. So there's one app that's really focused on sexual assault, and most of those apps are free, and you download them from an app store. So let's start with that.
Okay.
Ours, Victim's Voice, is not an app that you'll find in any app stores.
Okay.
And that's intentional. Okay. So ours is what we call a progressive web app. So you can access it from any device at all. So whether you have your phone, your friend's phone, if your phone is being monitored, don't use your phone. After COVID's done, use your work computer, a library computer, anything. We're not storing any information on any device. So that's the first thing. You don't download it, so there's no icon to discover. There's nothing on your device at all. The second thing is some of these apps, they're free, but they're crowdsourcing the information. There's one app that is free, and they ask you a few questions. And if you want, you can release the information. And once you do, they subscribe to attorneys. And attorneys then, once you open it up, the attorneys jump in. And it's kind of like an, ambulance chasing thing. They figure out who gets the case. And they, so.
No, that's just, no, yeah. That's all bad. We don't want that.
There's a recent app that was released by a national organization. And it's a great app for locating resources. It's a great app if you're, say, middle school or high school and you're being bullied or cyber bullied or something, where you don't have to worry about the icon on your phone. Okay. You don't have to worry about chain of ownership of the information. You don't have to worry about, things like that. Our app does not allow for audio or video. And we get a lot of questions. Well, why not? Well, we're located here in New Jersey.
Okay.
And in New Jersey, we're what's called a one consent state, meaning that as long as I'm part of the conversation, I can record the conversation and it's 100% legal. If I drive 10 minutes down the road and I go into Pennsylvania, it's a felony to record without everyone's consent.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know any abuser who would give their consent to being recorded while they're abusing you.
Okay.
And so we couldn't risk, and there are a lot of states out there that don't allow for, Florida is one. Florida has a clause in there that if you're a minor and you're recording domestic violence, then it's okay. But if you're 18 or older, it's against the law.
Wow. Okay.
So,
hey, Florida, that's us.
Yeah. So unless you know the specifics of the law, you can, and you're being encouraged to upload video, you could really get yourself in trouble. The other thing is always ask, where is the data being stored?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. If it's being stored on your device and your abuser gets a hold of it, that's bad. If it's being stored on like some of the other apps where they'll upload it in, you can upload it to your iTunes cloud or your Google cloud. Google and Apple own that. They're not going to send you a certification to show chain of ownership that their systems have not been breached, that their protocols meet HIPAA and VAWA compliance.
Okay.
So these are all things that we ensure the safety, security, and privacy. We don't even know who our clients are.
Okay.
Because as soon as they set up an account, their information is encrypted immediately. So we don't even know who they are. We do know that 2 cases have gone to court so far using our app, and we only know about those 2 because they reached out to us to thank us.
Wow.
There could be a lot more.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people don't always turn around and say thank you. So that is good to know that you guys have some information back. But I want to go back really quickly. So one thing I know about Victims Voice from what you're saying is that Victims Voice is not an app that you can go to the Play Store and download. And it was not an app that you will be able to see on your phone. So I think that's really, really important to drive home. Because I know we're talking about some apps are like locks. They look like a lock on your phone, or they look like something suspicious or random. And Victims Voice is not that. So that's the first thing.
So our logo is a hand with some circles. And I think I have a sticker right here. So if someone saved the app, the tool, Victims Voice, to their home screen, which you can do with any website, what it would be is the hand with the circles without Victims Voice on it. So it looks kind of like a podcast,
Actually, it does.
Yeah, one of those icons. We encourage people not to save it on their home screens. We also encourage people to use a browser called DuckDuckGo. And you can download the DuckDuckGo, all one word, like a quack, quack, duck. DuckDuckGo is a secure web browser. You can download their DuckDuckGo web browser app, and you can search any website on your device from that app, and it will, all one word, and it will not show up in the history of your phone at all.
Okay.
So you can go to any website, and, I know a lot of people are concerned with, well, if you go into the history of where you've been in your phone, it'll show up. With DuckDuckGo, it doesn't. They don't track any information at all. It's a great browser.
I think that's really good for the safety of survivors. And I think that's the whole point of this is safety for survivors, because as a survivor, I know my phone was broken numerous times. So let me ask you a question today. So if I'm a survivor and I'm recording this information or on my device, I'm uploading it from my device, and my abuser throws my phone, he breaks my phone, what do I do? How do I get access or continue to upload that information?
You just find another device and log in.
So I can go to my desktop and log in.
Yeah. And, we, a lot of people reach out to me through social, and one person said, well, I'm locked in the house with my abuser and he's watching my phone all the time. I said, do you have access to his phone? She said, yes. I said, it's the old adage of hide it in plain sight. Use his phone to upload the documentation, because we're not storing anything on any device, and that's the last place they're going to look now.
So it's uploaded to wherever, and it's not kept on their phone.
It's kept in our own private secure servers. That our servers are built for HIPAA and VAWA compliance. Okay. And VAWA regulation is even harsher than HIPAA. We can't share this data with anyone, and we don't. The only two people that even have access to go into like customer service and all that is myself and my co-founder, my CTO. And we're getting ready to release our version 2. And that will have an in-mail system so that no user will ever have to go on our contact us page on our website. They can contact us through their in-mail and stay completely anonymous. Because they're just a database ID to us. They ask a question, we answer the question, send it back into their in-mail. We have no idea who they are.
So I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't do audio and it doesn't do video. So what if there's a situation happening, or, I'd like to record or I'd like to video it, and with that app I can't. What would you suggest in that case? So
we do allow for pictures.
Okay.
And what we tell victims, if you do have an audio or a video, especially video, you can upload to YouTube and mark it private. And when you mark it private, then only people that you specifically allow to access it using a specific email address would be allowed to do that. Google will translate it and closed caption it. And then you can use that and use that as that transcription as text and put that in the app. And then I suggest taking screenshots of all the frames and upload those pictures. We do not limit the amount of data that you put in. You can be recording for 15 years, uploading pictures every day.
Wow.
We're not going to limit you. Wow. And that's the other thing. We do normally charge a $40 a year licensing fee. But we partner with organizations such as prosecutors, district attorneys, nonprofits, law enforcement, and we sell what equates to a gift card.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep. We also have a gifting program. So we have a lot of people that donate these cards, and on the back is an activation code. So for 99% of domestic violence victims are victims of financial abuse. Right. We realize this. So we make getting these cards for free easy for them.
That is awesome.
We're not a nonprofit. We are intentionally a for-profit. We didn't want to be fundraising our entire existence. And we didn't want to be competing against the funds that really need to go to the services that are provided. We're a tool. We're not a resource. And that money needs to go to the resources. So we work with these organizations that make these cards available. And then with no financial transaction, there's no financial trail.
There's no financial trail.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Nope. And for the rest of the month, we're giving away the licenses for free.
They're giving away the licenses for free. I had like an Oprah moment. That's huge. I mean, especially like you said, 99% of survivors and victims are financially strapped. financial abuse, especially now during COVID, is so high. And the fact that for the rest of the month, and we literally have like 2 more days in this month, to get free licenses into the hands of domestic violence victims that are experiencing domestic violence at this time. It is very, very important. Here is, I'm going to put up real quick how you can contact Sheri. Is that right? Victim Voice app.
Yep.
Well as I'm going to put their Facebook page. I'll tag it in the video once we're finished with it here, so you guys can go directly to them to get that information.
Yeah, there's we have a URL, and that's it. The Facebook group offer, and that's where you can actually sign up to get the free license. There is a form that asks for some basic information. Since we're on Facebook, it asks for your Facebook ID so that I can privately message you. So if I want to make sure that it's safe to message, and I will, every person I ask, is it okay for me to communicate with you through this? Because the last thing I want to do is put anyone in danger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've been giving away licenses all month because of COVID. We didn't want anyone to go without. And we've seen usage spikes like crazy.
Wow.
I know Utah was our biggest spike, 450% increase in usage.
Wow.
Yeah. Florida was triple-digit percentage increase as well. Yeah, California.
And it goes to show that the domestic violence has increased, but I think it also goes to show that victims' voice is being used. The tool is being used, and people are able to put it to good use.
Yeah. So I also want to say, though, that while we focus on domestic violence, this app also is applicable for any kind of discrimination, harassment, or abuse. So you have other use cases on there, and a lot of those other use cases, they're perfectly comfortable and would prefer buying their own license. Workplace harassment or stalking. They don't want to have to go to someone and say, I need a card. And so that's why we make those options. If I know as a survivor, I always want to help those organizations. I want to put help back in the hands of victims. And that's why we have the gifting program too. So we've had so many survivors go online, pay the $39.95 and donate a gift card to a victim.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So if you would like to do that, and you have the means to be able to do that, and you realize that maybe this is something you didn't have when it could have helped you to prosecute in your case, and this is something you'd like to give to another survivor, it is
$39.95 a year.
Yeah,
for the year. And Lisa, you have a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So after this, we're going to hook you up with some cards.
All right, awesome.
Partners, so that if people are comfortable reaching out to you,
awesome.
You can give away the cards to people where you are.
Awesome. Look at that, you guys. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you, Victim's Voice. We appreciate that, Sheri. So let me ask you another question. I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but I think this is a really important question. So say if I've been documenting my information in Victim's Voice, I've left the abuser and I'm ready to go to court. Okay. What does that look like? How do they get that information off of where it is?
That's a great question. Well, a couple of things. Let's go worst case scenario.
Okay.
As unfortunate it is, it's a reality that not all victims survive. So we have in our app the ability for all users to designate what we call a journal designee. And that is a trusted individual that in the event that the victim becomes deceased or medically incapacitated, unable to speak for themselves, the journal designee would be able to upload legal documentation and then would be able to assign a records recipient.
Okay.
And that's how the records are gotten from the user account to whoever they go. Now, we are not a reporting application. We let the victim determine if, when, and to whom the report is given. So they go into their account and they assign an individual called a records recipient.
Okay.
They put in the records recipient's email address and phone number. That records recipient will then receive an email that says, you've been designated as a records recipient, and here's what Victim's Voice is. Here's how you go into now your own Light account that will be linked to the user's account.
Okay.
At no time can anyone access a user's account. All it does is gives the ability then for that account to say, we've authorized you to download the records. And those records are downloaded. They are never emailed. And they're downloaded in that legally admissible report.
Okay. And that report can then be presented to the courts.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. So I love this Victim's Voice. I think it's amazing. I wish that I had it. I think that survivors, when you're a victim and you're in it and you just can't see past what's going on, you do wish there was a way. Because I remember being in the judge's office going through my divorce, and I was like, but he was violent. And the officer, what proof do you have? The judge looked at me and said, well, what proof do you have? What do you want me to do about it? And I just remember feeling so devastated, as though, like, I know it happened, he know it happened, but I had no proof to show that this had happened to me. And so I love this. And I also love it in app generation. We all know secret apps exist, but they're right in front of our face. And this is not one of those things. So for those of you that are just popping on or asking, this is Sheri, and she is the founder and CEO of Victim's Voice. And it is not really an app, but it is a way of resource. Go ahead, go.
It's a legally admissible documentation tool for users to collect all the necessary evidence. We encrypt the information. We store it permanently off device. It's all encrypted. And the output report meets the legal standard of court admissibility. So we're the only legally admissible application.
Only legally admissible application. I love it. And they are giving away, they have people who have donated and gifted licenses. These licenses are usually $39.99 a year. And they are giving those away until the end of the month, which is in 2 days. So I will put up real quick again these banners that let you know where you can go if you are a victim of domestic violence, currently experiencing domestic violence, and need a way to document what's going on. Please go to the information down at the bottom.
So Michelle, you just asked even videos. We did cover this, not videos or audio, because it's not legal in every state. In fact, in some states, it's a felony. And so we couldn't risk having a victim upload an illegal video into the app and tainting all of the evidence. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me on social, and I'll give you some tips on how to get that video information into the app anyway. We just kind of do it in a roundabout way.
Yes. Yeah. And if you go back a little bit further back in the beginning, we did talk about it a little bit earlier as well. Yeah. So you want to go back for that, definitely, Michelle. And I agree with you, Mary Ellen. I remember I did the same thing. I wrote down, I documented, I had pictures, but maybe then they said they were sorry. Or then I went back and I shredded and got rid of it. And by the time it got to the height of it and I was ready to leave, I didn't have that documentation anymore.
And, I have people come to me and say, well, he's not always very nice, or I feel like I'm walking on eggshells all the time. That's the time when you really want to start documenting, because what it's going to show is that escalation, which is the grooming period. If nothing escalates, if you get out of the relationship, God bless you, and no harm done. There's no harm in documenting, but not documenting.
Yes, there's harm in not documenting.
Yeah.
It's not that there's no harm in it, but it could fall back on you when you say, man, I wish. Because again, we know that there's a cycle. So while the honeymoon stage is going on, we know what's coming up next. And so we know we're going to be back at this beginning part all over again. So you might as well start to document there and build it up.
The prosecutors say to me all the time, I wish I had a dime for every time a victim came into our office and said, well, I had all these pictures and he smashed my phone and I didn't back it up.
Sounds about right.
Upload the pictures and get them off your phone. Why have all those pictures? You don't want to have anything that could put you in harm's way in your device. You just don't. Or the possibility of it getting destroyed and lost forever.
Exactly. And then we know that they have a MO of breaking your phones, computers, laptops, whatever. So with the Victim Voice, you do not have any of that record on any one device.
Heck, I dropped mine in the toilet a few weeks ago.
That was funny. That was funny.
We all done that,
That was smart. Amanda says that she mailed her documents to her brother, which was,
until you got caught. Yeah. But, we don't want anyone to get caught. We don't want anyone to get discovered. Yeah, the hidden ones, you know, I've heard cases of this too. And if you're afraid that your device is being watched, don't use your device. Use your friends, use somebody's, use a stranger's. You can do it. We're not storing anything on any device. So you can even use your workplace or school computers because you're not violating any computer workplace policy. You know, we've run this app through prosecutors and district attorneys. We've run it through family law attorneys, employment attorneys. Victims have given feedback. We've had social workers. Everybody that you could possibly think of that has a stakeholder in this has pulled this app apart and given its stamp of approval.
Awesome. See, that's a big deal. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Michelle made a good point just now. It's I'm going to go sideways with it. He took her phone and bought a new phone. Understand that abusers have ways to tap into your phone and put apps on your phone where they can watch and monitor you as well. And so, yeah, they may buy you a new phone, but you also have to be careful with that as well. Okay. Pilar says that she's okay.
Yes, our site is secure. It's on our own private servers. Everything is encrypted. And if you do get an account, we won't even know because all your contact information that you put in there initially is so that you can prove that this is your account. We never see it. We have no idea. So if you reach out to me and you say, hey, you know, I need you to look at this on my account. Sorry, you know, you've been converted into a database ID that you don't know, and we only see the database ID. We also do that. There's a specific reason why we did that. The last thing that we would want to do, reporting apps, push that big rock down the hill, and then there's no stopping it. You are out of control again. Ours, we put all the control in the victim's hands. And we also do that from the identification point because, God forbid, if we get subpoenaed, we have to answer the subpoena.
Exactly. I knew you were going to say that.
But if we get subpoenaed and they say, you know, Michelle Smith, you know, we're demanding that you give us Michelle Smith's records for this court. I'm going to say, well, do you know what the database ID is? Because you're going to have to reach out to Michelle and have her assign you a records recipient.
Because it's off of your hands. You guys don't have any responsibility with it. You haven't seen it. You don't know.
Right. And the records recipient and the journal designee, the user can rescind that privilege at any time.
That's good to know.
So, you know, if you assign a journal designee who's your best friend, and then you find out your best friend sleeping with your ex-husband, you know, zip, you're out. That's it. So, yeah.
That's good to know that they can rescind that. That's awesome. Amanda said, I'll be getting a gift card to donate. That is awesome. Thank you so much. So does anybody have any other questions before I let Sheri go? Thank you, Sheri, so much. I'm so glad you joined. Let's see if anybody has any questions about Victim's Voice.
I love the hard questions.
And if I haven't asked anything and you can think of something that you'd like to share with them, please do, about why this is so important or anything similar.
You know, I was there. I built this with, if I were the former or the previous me, what would I want to make sure of? And that's from the safety and security and privacy aspect. And now looking forward and acting as, you know, in the mindset of, yes, it is national, and we're going to be going international probably pretty soon. Little teaser. But you know, looking at it from the legal perspective, I mean, ultimately we want justice. Yep. You know, these abusers, male and female, are getting away with it at huge rates, and they have us under their thumbs. And enough, you know, enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see.
Oh. Okay. You're gonna have to watch the
all right, well, Sheri, thank you so much for joining. Remember that you guys can reach out to her at Victims Voice app, as well as if you are currently in a domestic violence situation and you need a way to document and record this information, please look at the bottom there, victimsvoice.app/Facebook group offer. They are giving away free licenses until the end of the month, and that is in 2 days. So if you need to share this video, if you need to give it to someone, if you need to buy one for someone, just go ahead on and do that. Let's see.
Yep. And I'm usually on social. It's not just me on our accounts, but oftentimes it is me. So yeah, hit me up.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sheri, for joining us. All right. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye.